Good morning, guys. Today is engine day. We're going to start to get this engine disassembled, get the parts ready to go, over to Nova to get the new heads, and then come back and get some parts installed. Alright guys, so as you just heard me mention, today is engine day. We got the engine out, it's on the stand. We're going to get the heads off, and get the front cover off, and get the dampener off, get engine mounts out, just kind of get it all cleaned up, making it look fresh. And then we are going to get a coat of paint on it, make it look wicked, and then we're going to shoot over to Nova, grab the camshaft, grab the new heads, and then we got to come back and do some work to get the heads prepped up. As I mentioned, we got to put springs in it, trunnion upgrade kit, check some spring pressures, make sure we got no issues with it that way, and then basically we can start to bolt this sucker together and get it ready, freshened up to go back in the truck. Do need a couple small parts for the truck before it can go back in, but those are minor. We'll get those taken care of at the same time. If you did watch the video from yesterday, the engine bay is painted. It looks great. Client's real happy with it, and I think once this block goes back in all freshened up, it's going to look wicked as well. So let's basically get this stripped down, hit up some time lapses. I will show you some disassembly aspects of this, how to get like crank dampener off, what's involved with taking the heads and the valve train assembly off. There is procedures to kind of disassemble properly. You work from outside in when you disassemble things, you work from inside out when you reassemble things. And as you can see, it's pretty dirty up in here. There's some nice scraps and whatnot. So let's get it ranked apart and get her back together. Guys, as you see in the time lapse there, I got the heads off, made a mess of coolant, but that's no big deal. Get that cleaned up. I did scrape the valley cover off just to get the dirt off it with the block over, so we didn't get a bunch of dirt down in the trays there. But excuse me, no big issues with the cam or the lifters. All the rollers still look great. There's no signs of any of the rollers having like bad signs or flat spots on them. Everything seemed pretty good with them, honestly. Same with the rockers, everything was good with those. We are going to do the trunnion upgrade kit. As I mentioned, this got LS6 springs in it. We're going to remove all those. This basically discard the heads. Heads are no good. Not that they're no good, just not something we're going to use. Or 317 heads, bigger CC combustion chambers, brings the compression down quite a bit. So not going to use those. Going to make a, say, going to go with 243 heads off of 08 Silverados, what the heads are specific off of. These are off of an 02 6-liter. As I mentioned, they're 317 heads over the 243. So let's keep getting the dampener off, get the front cover off, get the camshaft out, make sure that we don't need anything else, and then we'll start tearing the heads apart and get all that stuff over to Nova. Essentially, they need 3 valves. We found 3 valves that just need to be replaced in those 243 heads, and we're going to steal them from the 317. So here we go. Okay, guys. So to get the dampener off, 15/16 socket is going to get us the impact to try to drive this sucker off. I hope you got a good enough impact, because this bolt can be a bitch. As I mentioned, hope you got a good enough impact. So bolt out. Next we're going to go with is basically just a puller. I did have to grind the back of this one down a little bit, but it's got nice tight ears that grab the back edge of the dampener. So essentially, this sucker is just going to go in like so until it grabs the back edge. Just like that, dampener's off. biggest thing to look for in the dampener is you're looking for around, oh, I get a hold of this. Around the edge of the dampener, there's a rubber seam. You can see this one's actually beat up pretty good. It's got quite a bit of wear on it. You can see some spots are starting to tear. Essentially what the dampener does is this portion's rubber isolated against the outer ring, so when you stomp on it, there's a little deflection between the rubber, between the inner inner portion of the crank and the end of it. So I do recommend, if you do have cracks or breaks in these and you are planning on pushing big power and you do have a full serpentine system, I would recommend replacing this with either like an ATI or even a brand new one, or just something that's not as worn as what this one is, you know what I mean? Just got concerns for it. That could cause a vibration issue down the road. So, next we're going to go at is the front cover. There is 2 bolts that go out through the oil pan for it. Like so. So we do have a brand new chain and tensioner set up, in which the oil pump does have to come off. So there's a little bit of a hassle to get the oil pump off because there is one 10mm bolt that goes this way up into the bottom of the pump. There's an O-ring on it and it's known to have an issue. So the downfall is when you go to pull the pump off, chances are you mess the O-ring up. Without the pan being off, the O-ring is extremely hard to get back in. If the O-ring breaks, when you go to start the engine, the oil pisses out the O-ring, and you don't end up with oil pressure, and guess what? This all got to come apart again. So I'm going to pull pan down, I got to drain fluid, I'm going to yank the pan down, and then essentially put this back together properly so that we don't have any issue. But in the meantime, because I do have a new chain, and also absolutely fathoms me, I can't believe GM did this way. But essentially, I'm going to show you here because it bugged me. This is a timing chain tensioner setup. This sets up inside here, allows the chain to run to not have slack. So I'm not sure if you can see that in the video here, but you think about it, like that camshaft can move a couple degrees in relation to the cam or the crank, sorry. I'll get a good shot of it here just so you can see what I'm looking at. But essentially, crank's not moving. See the slack in the chain? I mean, call me crazy, but I think that's a degree. You know what I mean? So we take that degree times it by RPM of 6,000 RPM. That degree is losing power. It's slacking the chain. I'm not a big fan of it. And as you can see, this block doesn't even have the holes drilled for the ability to bolt in our tensioner. So weird setup from GM, not really sure why they did it. Obviously it's not a huge concern. I may discuss about drilling and tapping those holes. Since we are going to have this apart anyway, there's no concern of contaminating or putting any metal shavings in the block because I had to clean it up real well. But we'll discuss that with Eric. In the meantime, gonna get the upper wheel out, or upper crank or camshaft gear off, just so I can pull the cam out, make sure there's no issues there. Make sure the bearings are all good. That way when I go to Nova, if I do need anything there, I can get it. So let's go back at getting the rest of it off. This is called the cam plate. Holds the cam in There's a couple seals on this I may recommend to replace as well. I gotta check to see if the kit came with one of these, but essentially this O-ring in the middle here where it seals against its oil patches, same deal. I prefer to replace that seal rather than put it back on, as you can see in the video, but it is not protruding above the top of the surface, so chances are it ain't gonna do much. And on top of that, I'm not really sure if that's something that you should necessarily put gasket maker on. I believe that it should just get a new seal. So we'll chat with Eric about that, make sure that gets replaced as well. And now we can go in and take the camshaft out. I got a bend on the screwdriver, makes it nice for me, you can leverage it up. Biggest thing to look out for, in the instance that you haven't got the lifters out yet, they have like I see billet, some of them companies, they make these big steel rods or aluminum rods that go in those oil patch ports. And what they do is they hold the lifters up out of the way so that as you bring the camshaft out, you don't hit the lifters. In our instance, we've already moved the lifters, don't have to worry about that. So just be careful taking this out. You don't want to damage any really. I think the owner said it was maybe an LS6 camshaft. It looks pretty damn new. I'll just have to run that part number and see what it comes up with, but definitely still in good shape. No signs of any wear or concerns there. This sucker we're gonna toss straight in a box right now. Just to make sure there's no issues. Anybody want a cam for my Hemi? Jump. Okay. Camshaft good. So, I didn't see any big signs in the cam there that showed any worn bearings. Everything looks good. Everything felt tight still that was coming out. I do see on this front bearing here, there might be a little bit of wear there. As you can see, it's taking the top surface off. I may discuss with Mark about seeing how hard it is to install cam bearings in this block. And nothing to be concerned about. As I mentioned, I am going to pull the oil pan off just to be able to get access to get the pump off. We do have a new chain and sprocket, so that will be the next thing we're going to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave the short block how it is, and I'm basically going to go out getting the heads apart so that I can get the valves over to Mark, so we can get the valves taken care of. Then we can come back while the heads are getting cleaned up, get the bottom end together, get it painted, get it prepped to take the heads. Kind of crazy to look at the way these 6-liters are, but if you notice the crest line, how much the block has swelled right here. See the swell from the rust? That's that lovely fucking that lovely cast block. It basically, as the rust corrodes, it swells and leaves an edge. So it actually had the head gaskets rolled there as well. So we'll clean up that edge, we'll clean up the rest of the surfaces, clean up the rest of it, get a good coat of paint on it, and go from there. Okay guys, so I already got 2 out there. Just wanted to make sure I was doing this right here. So the easiest way I found is just hang it over the bench. We're basically going to make sure that the bottom of the cup of the valve tool is on the valve itself. This lays down, it's actually pretty slick. One little push, we're out. And then where my magnet went, just reach in and grab the 2 locks. Motion, pull the lock back off, springs out, and then just pull the valve down through. The intake valves in this are actually really clean. Might be the nitrous aspect of it that's making them super clean, but like very, very nice. Exhaust valve, not too bad. This is that would be number 7 we just pulled apart there. I'm gonna pull number 5 out. Exhaust. Alright, so got the heads all taken apart, got the valves out of the heads that we need to bring over to Nova. I basically just took all 16 out. I'm gonna let them pick the best 3 they need. Those other heads, not that they're useless, but they're just castings at this point since I got the springs out of them. Just basically going to head over to Nova right now, get those dropped off. I figured on the... Alright guys, so back from Nova, got the camshaft right there on the bench. Got the head surface, or the block surface cleaned up where the head is. All the pistons are in great shape. I'm not gonna bother cleaning those up. As you can see, both sides are in good shape. Next thing I'm going to do is just drop the oil pan. As I mentioned, I got to get the oil pan off to be able to get the gasket out, or get the bolt out to be able to get the pump off to get the drive out. So that's the next job. I already cracked the bolts free. We'll just take the bolts one by one out and then hold the pan, settle it down. I did drain the oil already, so yeah, and then we'll get back to getting the camshaft back in, get the block all tied together in the front, get a coat of paint on it, and have it ready for the bids. Just going to take the bottom gear off because we do have a new replacement gear for it. Use the same 3-shot puller that I used to take the dampener off. As you can see, I got some zip ties wrapped around it. Basically, zip ties are doing is just trying to hold these gears tight because there's not a whole lot to grab there. I'm not concerned if I damage it because we do have a new one to replace it with. So, got the oil pan off, got everything out of the way, got that old gear off. Just going to put the new gear on. From JP Performance is the kit we're using with it. It is an adjustable lower gear so we can advance or retard the cam timing. We're just going to leave this one at 0 for what it is. So basically if we follow the instructions, don't mind my glitching out light here. If we follow the instructions, basically we're aiming to get 0 on the keyway and then 0 on the upper gear. And when we revert back to here, basically what we're looking for is, you can see right here, there's like 2, 4 on the first edge. And then if you look back on the gear, there's a number there as well. We can see 0's facing up at the lower bolt. When we put the cam gear on, that will be facing downwards. Those two will line up. That'll let us know we're at top dead center with the cylinder where it's supposed to be. So let's get the outer gear on. We'll then lube the camshaft up, slide it in, get the upper gear on, get our plate on, get our chain in, rotate this sucker over, make sure it's all good, and then we can basically lube up the new lifters, get those in the tray, slide those in, lock those down, and then basically we got a good bottom end aside from oil pump. But that's we can get at that too. I want to make a couple slight modifications to it, so let's keep going. All right, we're gonna unbox the cam right quick too. Basically what we went with is an LS3 stage 2. It is 620, 605, 225, 238 duration, 113 plus 3 lobe separation. Should be a good camshaft what we're aiming for. Again, he is going on a nitro shot, so we wanted something that was fairly streetable, but at the same time made a good base horsepower. So we should be pretty good with this camshaft. We should be very happy. I'm gonna get it lubed up in the time lapse, get it installed, and keep moving. Got the gear on, got the chain on. We got the 0 and the mark lined up proper, so there's no advancements on the camshaft. Everything's timed properly. Pistons at top dead center. And basically that gets the cam install and the that side of it taken care of. So tomorrow I'm going to come back out. I'm going to call it for a night tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to come back out, get the oil pump cleaned up, make sure that it's all good inside, get it installed back on, get the pickup cleaned up, get it back installed on, make sure the O-ring goes in properly. It didn't look like the O-ring had a big issue when it came out. still in pretty good shape. So we'll just make sure that there's no tears or anything in it when we put it back in. Head should be ready from Nova tomorrow. We can get lifters in the meantime, so that basically the block is all good to go with a fresh coat of paint on it, ready for the heads. And then once this is good to go, I can go back over to the Canyon and get the wiring harness all tied together and ready to go. So keep track of the next video, guys. I appreciate you following. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Check Instagram and Facebook for updates if you don't see new videos posted. But as of Friday, I'm going live with it, so I appreciate you guys paying attention. And until next time, chat then, drive safe.